Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome back to Big Little Small Talk. Today I've got someone really exciting to talk to and her name is Gay Hold-Carpenter. Now, Gay is a very prominent businesswoman in Toowoomba. She's a hairdresser, amongst other things. And I've come to her studio today, her shop in Duggan Street, to come and talk to her about the many projects that she has going. So welcome, Gay, and thank you for being a guest on Big Little Small Talk.
Thank you for having me, Megan.
I saw you the other day. We were at a function and I saw you speaking about the many projects that you're involved in. And I thought, that is a woman of substance. I need to come and talk to her more about what she's doing, where she's come from, where she's going, and all the fantastic things that you're doing in our community. So, Gay, tell me about your hyphenated name. As a girl with a hyphenated name, I'd like to know about your name, Gay Hold-Carpenter.
Born Gay Hold, and was married for 16 years and had 3 beautiful children, and then separated for nearly 16 years ago, and I remarried Arthur Carpenter 2 years ago, and Hold is such a big, that's just my identity, and I really struggle just cutting that off, and it's really hard to find a nice name to end with Gay.
I must
Gay
admit,
Carpenter sounds a bit funny.
Well, Gay Carpenter's funny, but also when I went to Google Gay Hold, yes, lots of gay stuff came up, so I had to shut that down pretty quickly.
I get it all the time.
So Gay Carpenter. So was Gay Hold your maiden name?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you grow up in Toowoomba? Or?
I did, yeah.
And you go to school here?
Yeah, North State and Mount Lofty.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And tell me about becoming a hairdresser. Did you always want to become a hairdresser?
I knew from a really young age. And it was quite funny when my stepmom used to take me into the salon and make me have my hair cut really short. I was like, I want to be a hairdresser and I want to give children a choice on how they wear their hair.
Right.
And it just started from there. And I actually started cutting hair at school, in class. Like,
were you
I was
charging?
Obsessed.
You got their little lunch if they let you cut their hair?
And I started grade 9 just doing the Thursday nights. Saturday mornings with a salon called Salon 32. Pam Tan owned that. And then I went to Stefan's. And I started in grade 10. Therefore, I was 15 when I started. Moved out of home, used to ride my bike down to the salon at age 15. I wanted desperately to work for Stefan's, and they wouldn't take you until you were grade 12. So I did 2 years with Pam Tan and then applied with Stefan's and went on as a third year, and then I ended up becoming their youngest manager ever at 18.
Right. So I remember Stefan was such a big thing. We'd go to JoJo's in the city, in Brisbane, and go to the hair comps. And so what was it about Stefan that you really loved? Was it just the whole? He took hairdressing into the stratosphere, didn't he?
He certainly did, and it was just one of those things where. The education was huge with Stefan, and not just with hair, it's everything. I remember being a manager, and he had a guest speaker over from America, learning on, body language and how to remember people's name and how to make people feel good and repeating their name back to them. And I teach my staff 35 years later the very same things that he's trained me. Mm-hmm. So he was very smart.
He was very holistic about the whole person, right? And that's why I suppose you were also loyal, weren't you? You stayed there forever. Yeah. So what's happened to Stefan now? Do you know?
He still's got salons around. Yeah. It wasn't like back in the 80s when I was there. It was just massive. It was just huge. Used to when you manage. I had an RX-7 sports car that I got to drive around having holidays with pop-up lights, and so it was just out of this world.
Yeah, it was a family, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was so glamorous. And
yes.
Every time I go to Brisbane and see the Needle, does he still own the Needle? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
What happened to the Needle? The Needle might have gone in the 80s with the crash, do you think?
Yeah.
So you were a manager there, and then how long, before you branched out on your own?
I did it fairly quickly. I think I was 22 when I branched out and had a salon in Toowoomba called Simply Gorgeous in the Australian Arcade. And I loved that. That was my first salon that I'd owned. But being married to a policeman, we actually went out west. So our first placing was Bolland. And I loved it out there. It was just wonderful. And I became a firefighter out at Bolland.
Oh,
there was.
I didn't see that when I googled Gay Hold. Gay Hold firefighter.
Yeah. So I was also a firefighter for 16 years.
So that was with the rural fire
No,
service?
with auxiliary. So
right,
paid,
yes,
yeah,
okay.
house fires,
right,
car accidents and things like that.
Right.
So it was an all-women fire brigade out there when I was there.
Tell me some more about that.
Oh, a house burnt down before I got there, and the firefighters were all shearers, working around Bolland, and they were just too far away in this house. And they did a big recruitment campaign for women to join, and the lady who was the captain, her nickname was Blondie, and she had dark,
politically correct, Blondie,
dark, really short hair. One of the toughest women I've ever met. Property woman that's just so strong mentally, physically. So she was just amazing mentor to start with. And then I moved to Monto that has never had a woman. Someone had to have died to get in there. And I went and introduced myself to the captain, and he'd said, I left the bloody Lions Club, not Lions Club, I think it was the Lions, because they let women join.
Oh.
So I was like, can you just give me 2 weeks, and if you don't want me, I don't want to be here either. So it was a really tough world, always being the only female, starting in an all-female, but then every station I went, Monto, Mount Isa, Cloncurry, being the only female. So that was a really hard, to prove myself. But yeah, my mum left when I was about 2. So my dad brought me up for many years, and then I had a stepmum. So I've got that mongrel in me because of Dad.
You need to go into politics, love.
And so, driving any type of machinery, my dad sold machinery and trucks and things like that. So we were motorbike riders, we raced, so I
So who's we? Who's the rest of the family?
My brother and I were very
right,
close.
brother, yeah.
Only a year apart. And so we did everything together and building go-karts.
And do you know the circumstances of why your mum left?
I think it was just, I have a relationship with Mum now, and a great relationship with her. Just one of those things where 3 small children might have been a bit too much for her, or she moved on. We didn't see her for 5 years at a time, and
fairly
another 5 years.
unusual for a woman to have to go through that. And it's always there's always 3 sides to every story, isn't there? And it's just
I think that's probably where my passion for youth comes in.
Because of being a young person growing up in that sort of circumstance. Exactly. Okay, so we go back to being the only firefighter in the room. And did you get really good at knowing how to just kind of win them over? Yeah.
So the biggest thing you had to do was, when you went to any job, is show absolutely no fear. You would pick the job that's the crappiest, hardest job.
What's the crappiest, hardest job?
It'd be anything really, from being the first to go into a house fire, proving to them that you've got their back and you're strong enough to pull them out of that house if they need you, if that needs to happen. So absolutely showing no fear, and always I used to just, whatever was probably the toughest, hardest job, I would deliberately go do that, so I would prove to them that I was strong enough, mentally and physically, to do anything.
You need to go on that SAS show that I've been watching a little bit on lately.
No, I've been out of it for 11 years now, and I am so...
So tell me, did you were you having the children then at this stage while you were firefighting?
So when I started in Bolland, I had the 2 little girls, and they literally were maybe 6 months, 2 years, and I had to go to Toowoomba to do my course, and it was physically one of the hardest things that I've ever done, and mentally too. So my girls were in a daycare while I was going to the course, and I was going back in the lunch break and, doing my things with them and, having them all night. And the course was so exhausting doing it. So it was certainly challenging, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
What did you love? Like, why did you want to keep doing it? It was just scary and fun and
I think they probably had a bit of adrenaline there. But
the adrenaline,
the fellowship, the mateship that you have with your crew. So when I did 2 years Monto, 2 years Manisa, and 2.5 years Cloncurry, I came back to Toowoomba, and I used to temp with the full-timers, which meant anytime the guys were on holidays, I would fill in for the full-timers. So it's 2 days, 2 nights, and then I would do my hair in between.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, were you doing the hairdressing in between?
Always.
Right. And when you went to Monto and, say, Cloncurry, did you set up a shop there?
No, I worked at MIM Mines as an extinguisher technician.
Oh, of course you did.
As well as the fire brigade up there. Used to do a couple of days in the salon up there, and same in Cloncurry.
So you go into an existing salon and say, do you need someone? And as if they wouldn't say yes.
And they always did. You could get work anywhere.
Yes, right. Hasn't it been a great profession? So tell me about the trends in hairdressing. I had a perm just the once. I think most women had one perm once. So what are the sort of crazy things that have come and gone?
Oh, I think, being a hairdresser back in the 80s, it was, perms. I remember working at Stefan's and it'd be nothing to do 4 or 5 or even 6 perms a day, and it's just so automatic.
Right.
And then we changed, from streaks to foils, and I've seen the change, but I am still, I've been hairdressing 35 years, and I am still, if not more, passionate about it now. I am always educating myself. There's always new techniques. There's always changing products, and everything's always being improved, and so I'm a little bit obsessive about it, but I absolutely love it.
Right.
So, yeah.
And what about those little kids who come in to get the short haircut? Do you stick up for them now? And you say no, I'll have that.
Yeah. Like, what would you like?
That's right.
Why don't we compromise?
What's been the sort of craziest haircut that you've ever had, or have you had like red hair, straight, flat top?
Oh, for me?
For you.
So clipper number 2, red flat top.
Oh.
Yeah, so as an apprentice, I actually did the opposite and went quite short, and used to have a bright red. It couldn't be red enough. It was like, and it could never be short enough. As soon as it touched ears, it would annoy me. I'm like, no, it's got to be.
I only say that because my sister did have a red flat top when she graduated from university, so that would have been in, say, 1980 something, 86 or 85 or something. And it was very hard to get the mortarboard on top of the red flat top, let alone for it to look any good.
I can imagine.
So now she's got to live with that forever. But you've done it all. You've had it all. Have you had sort of half and half, the half blonde, half?
No. As I've got older, I'm a little bit more, whatever's going to make me look better.
Conservative. Yes. Well, I can hear you there, sister. So here we are. We're in your shop. Salon. You don't call it a shop, do you? I go to call it a practice. It's your salon called Jazzy Lane. Now, where did Jazzy Lane, the name for that, come from?
When we've been here 10 years, and before Jazzy Lane, it was Gasoline Alley, and it was, there was $250,000 spent on the fit out of this shop, and it's incredible. If anyone comes in and sees it, they'll see there's a car on the wall, there's lamp posts that go through the salon. It's really unique. The fit out is amazing, and when I first came in, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is just Jazzy. Jazzy just, I have got a daughter, Jazzy, too, and it's got, and I feel really bad. No, she always says to me, did you name it after me? I'm like, oh, not really, love.
That's called a white lie. You're allowed to white lie, I think, yeah.
But that's just what came to mind, and it was very American with the lamp posts and things like that, and then that's where we got the Jazzy Lane part of it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where we started. Yeah. So I actually know, Trevor Narang owns the building, and he's just the most beautiful gentleman you'll ever meet. And I went to school with his daughter Melinda. So, I said, can we, instead of ripping all this out, would it be okay if we kept the tin walls and this, and that made it a lot easier for them as well. And then I've just adjusted all the mirrors and changed everything around.
So it was a hairdressing salon before?
No. It was Gasoline Alley is a menswear store. So remember Robert's Menswear?
Yes.
It's part of Robert's Menswear.
Right.
So I've just taken over part of Robert's Menswear, and he called that Gasoline Alley, that part.
Okay.
Which ended up being like a suit hire and things like that in there.
Okay. Is there still a menswear hire place in, or a dressy men's apart from Maya or in Toowoomba?
I'm sure there is, but in this very area that we're sitting down, there was a fire that happened, and so all the smoke damage destroyed all the suits and everything like that, so they end up closing after that.
I'm seeing circles here. You didn't fight that fire, did you? No,
but
funnily enough, you have a story. Let me guess.
I certainly came down for it. No, I had resigned by that stage with the fire brigade when that happened.
I'll just remind listeners that they're on 4DDB, which is 102.7 FM, community radio, and I'm speaking in my Big Little Small Talk segment to Gay Hold-Carpenter. She's a hairdresser and she's got lots of irons in the fire. We've only heard about one so far, her being a firefighter in her young days, which she doesn't do anymore. So we open our own salon, and then we start. We're trained by Stefan, and we're hiring staff. And you go from just being yourself, and then hiring other people.
So Karen, who's been with me for the 10 years, she managed Southtown, and that shut. So I was lucky enough to get her, and then started with an apprentice, and we've got 12 on the books at the moment.
Wow. Now, I know particularly, Gay, that you have a special passion for hiring people with disabilities. Can you talk to me about that?
So I have two beautiful girls that work for me. I just believe everybody deserves a chance, and everyone has to start somewhere. And I had a beautiful Ree that came to me over 3 years ago with her carer. And
for a haircut?
Just to come and approached me.
Right.
Just speaking about wanting to do hairdressing, giving her an option to at least get some work experience, and I was like, yeah, why not? And I ended up putting her on as a Cert 2. Ree went to Clifford Park Special School. So it was challenging to start with, I'm not going to lie, because I had to actually learn how to teach someone with a disability, and that was one of the things that I wish there was something out in Toowoomba that could do that, because I was teaching her too many things at one time, and I realised I had to harden one pathway at a time. And so that's why I took that first month. She didn't talk at all. It was really like I wasn't sure if it was going to work. Then we started doing cards up on the wall with how to do something as simple as making a coffee, a cappuccino. Mm-hmm. And then we realised once you harden that one pathway, she got it. It was fine. And then we went to shampooing. Mm-hmm. But there's and we had like the visual cards for everything. And once that month had gone past, she was nailing it.
So she wasn't speaking at all?
Just nervous, really quiet, really difficult to actually speak to a client. She's working today, and she's amazing.
Yeah, right. And how did you find that the clients found?
I think initially you have to be clever with how you do it, and you need to explain, Ree's doing her apprenticeship with us from Clifford Park, and I think as soon as you say that, they then understand she's not being rude, she's probably just shy, and then it's wonderful. The clients talk about it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how, Ree's just blossoming, and they've gone on that journey with me, seeing her just grow, and it's just been beautiful. So it's been wonderful.
And Gay, you make such a good point about it's really our problem, not their problem, in terms of we don't know how to react. I know my sister, her husband's uncle had Down syndrome, and it was our problem because we didn't know how to talk to Robbie, and we didn't know how to. You didn't have to make a big deal of anything. It was just carry on.
That's right, and that's like with Olivia, who's been with me nearly 3 years too. It was just not long after Ree. It's the same. Like she's just the most. I can't explain. She just brings me so much joy. When she's in the salon, I have sore face from smiling.
How did Olivia come to work with you?
Isn't that hard to remember? I don't have the most perfect memory. I just
You
remember
got too
this
much going on.
beautiful girl, you know, coming in, and Jill, my receptionist, is also a carer for her, and I think that's how that might have started there. And it was just started off by doing a couple of hours a week as just work experience, and now I actually employ her. She brings so much value to the salon. Just her bubbly, beautiful personality with everything that she does. I think everybody enjoys her being in here. And she's so valued. She sweeps, she makes coffee, It's
the dignity of work. I talk about it all the time, and it's not my saying, the dignity of work, but to get up every day and have that meaningful, even meaningful volunteering, isn't it? And feeling as though you're valued where you're going. And I mean, the girls would feel that when they come to work themselves, I'm sure.
It was so funny when I first told her that I was going to pay her. You know, she was, oh my gosh, she was buying a pink car and she was doing everything. It was so beautiful.
She might be getting one of those ones, the pop-up ones with the lights like you had from RX7 or whatever it was from Stefan. You're that boss. And so you are often reminded of that stage of your life, I guess, when you were doing your apprenticeship and to bring people through.
Yeah.
So do you have a new apprentice every year, or how does that
Pretty
work?
well, yeah, I do. Usually two. I've had in 10 years 23 apprentices, I got told the other day.
Right. And are you still friendly with those girls?
Yeah, absolutely.
Many men, actually?
Only had one
Boys?
gentleman.
Yeah,
I'm keen for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly all the girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just somehow that's something that they want to do.
Yeah.
Now, with hairdressing, I know a lot of people come to the hairdresser, and sometimes the hairdresser's the only person they get to speak to. So you're involved in something called hair. Let me just think. It's not Hair Aid. It's a different thing. It's Hairdressers with Heart.
That's
isn't
right.
it?
That's it. Well done.
Can you talk to me about that?
So Hairdresser with Heart started by a beautiful lady, Sonia Colvin, down in Bribie Island. And her being a hairdresser, same as me, 35 years, saw the need that people were sharing things with her. And she designed, along with Queensland, and I could be saying this wrong, DV, a 9 modules on training hairdressers on how to respond and refer or recognise first off.
Right. So if you've got a client and they're telling you a story about how, they've got a sore head because they had a fall, is it sort of, and then you don't just accept, oh, okay, you had a fall. You might ask a bit more leading questions.
That's
that what happens?
Yeah, that's right. So with the education that we have, and by no means are we, counsellors or anything like that at all. It's just about being able to say, those leading questions in things like that, and also letting them, when they share things, being brave enough to say that's not okay what's going on, and there is help out there, and we can give you that referral for help, and such and such is amazing, and with my
so
connections.
would you have the names of people, counsellors, or numbers, or
generally it's like places like DV Connect, Amanda Dalton at Protea Place. There's different ones depending on the circumstances. Elder abuse as well, which is huge as well, which is really important. But it's just having that education, and with these 9 modules that we're wanting hairdressers to learn, we have that reach of being able to help so many people, because that is a very precious space that we do share. And I think it's the whole, we're touching them, we're close, we're not right in their inner circle, which means they share a little bit more. And to be able to educate hairdressers and barbers, and it's going on to beauticians and things like that as well, I think is just fantastic.
How do hairdressers find out about this, and how do they get trained, and do they have to pay to get trained?
There is a cost involved, and it's just a matter of going online, Hairdressers with Hearts, and you can sign up and do it. I know all the Just Cut salons have taken it on as well, and we're talking, there's hundreds in there. What we're trying to do is get local government to do a grant, 5,000, 10,000, just to educate their local hairdressers in being able to. It's a great on-ground way of getting to people and getting help and starting with it, because sometimes you only need that one person to say, look, what is happening is not okay, and there's help out there.
I think it's just an incredible program, because you think about like the women in Boulogne or the men in Boulogne. As I said before, you might be the only contact that they've had for a week or a month, and you're not sitting in front of them, looking them in the eye, like a GP, for instance, saying, okay, well, what's wrong? What's happening?
Exactly.
You're sort of, as you say, touching them and but being in their space, but not in their face, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'll just remind listeners that they're on 4DDB, 102.7 Community Radio. My guest today on Big Little Small Talk is Gay Hold-Carpenter, and she's a hairdresser here in town. She's involved in lots of things. We've heard about Hairdressers with Heart so far, and her passion for employing people with a disability in her Jazzy Lane studio in Duggan Street. Now, that isn't the only thing that you've got going. That's really fantastic. I want to hear, and we're sitting here in a room and we've got formal dresses piled up on the table, a few sequins tea dresses. We've got, it's not a fedora, it's a little, fascinator, not a fedora. Now, you've got a project called Project School Formal. Can you tell me about that, please?
So we started that 6 years ago. A really good friend of mine, Paula Lucas, and myself, with seeing the need. We were helping kids at Flexi School. That's how it started. And we're actually just seeing maybe we could do the hair and makeup, for free for them. And then we realised that they didn't have dresses and they couldn't afford the dresses. And so we decided, let's just have a go. Let's ask the community if they've got any dresses in their cupboards or suits in their cupboards, see what we get, and we're simply just receiving things and passing it on. So we started with maybe about 50 to 100 dresses in that first year.
How did you ask the community?
Facebook. We started a Facebook page, and I think we called it Toowoomba School Donation Project or something to start with. And then it's just grown from there. And then unfortunately my friend ended up having breast cancer, and I had it by myself for a little bit, which was really challenging. So Rotary helped for a while there. Now I'm auspiced by the Base service, so they auspice me. And I have an amazing project manager, Kim Stokes, incredible volunteers. We've probably got about 40 volunteers that are helping at the moment, and we help hundreds and hundreds of students. We're very lucky that we live in such a beautiful community. Toowoomba is one of the most passionate community, and sometimes you just, it's a hard thing to ask for that help sometimes, but now I'm getting a little bit better at saying, well, when I know it's for the good of somebody else, I have no problem now saying,
have to feel embarrassed.
We need size 22 dresses, or we need a extra small men's suit. We really struggle with that. And then the community's just really coming in and supporting, and they love helping as well. And I think we all have that one dress in the cupboard that we know we're not going to fit into.
Just need to lose an extra 10 kgs exactly. And I'll be in it.
That's right. Or, the gentleman with their shoes. I had a beautiful lady in last week that lost her sister-in-law, who brought it in, and she just said it meant so much to her, and she was quite upset, saying that we know that this is going to people in need. Okay. And I love that. So I never ever sell everything. There's no money exchanged. It is always whatever we get, we give. Things that are not quite formal wear go into our community box, and they go out to communities as far as out near Uluru, which is fantastic. I love sending them to our Indigenous communities. I'm really passionate about that. But it also goes to other communities as well. So every item we get goes to somebody in need, and that's beautiful as well.
So tell me how it works. Like, how do people see what you've got for a start?
So we've got a pop-up shop which is kindly donated by Grand Central, which is amazing. And so all they need to do is go to our Facebook page, and request an appointment with us. So it's not a walk-in shop, because that time in that shop is very personal and private for the student that's looking through the dresses. And the way that the shop is set out is that no one can actually see them, you know, looking through the dresses and suits. So it's a matter of just making an appointment with us on Facebook. We set our volunteers up at that time to fit them. And all we require is their school ID. We don't need any proof that they're having a hard time.
I was going to ask, right? You're not saying how impoverished are you, or what's your level of need? Yeah,
definitely not. Because by having that school ID, just ensures we're covering ourselves, that they're not going to go and sell it. Because all my beautiful people that, you know, donate their dresses, it's important to know that it's actually going to somebody in need and they're going to wear it. So we often get, I just need a formal dress for what? No, it's grade 12 formal only.
Okay.
You know, that's, and because I can't, otherwise it gets a bit messy.
Oh, yes, yeah. And what about all the dry cleaning and the storage and the transport? Tell me about that.
So this is where we're super lucky. Storage King came on board many years ago, which allows us to store. We have 2 containers full.
How many dresses would that be?
Close to 800 to 1,000. We've got over 1,000 at the moment, but then that will dwindle down. And suits. So Storage King donate their space and boxes. Whenever we want to send things out west, they donate those boxes. Follow-Mont Transport came on board about 3 years ago, and they have just been incredible because they're free of charge from Toowoomba only to send to wherever we want to.
And where are you sending those? Like you said that you're sending them to some Indigenous communities. How do you know that they need stuff, and how do you make those contacts?
So that was our community clothing going out there, but as far as from the schools. So that way that we send a box of dresses and suits to the school.
Right.
And it's only by requesting, and it's been amazing as they're getting to know.
So they contact you, do they?
Yes.
And say, could you send a random sample of dresses and suits to... Right,
yeah.
okay.
Often we'll get an inquiry from a student first, and if they can't get to us, then we do it through the school.
Right.
And then we know it's being monitored and people aren't just taking dresses and things like that. Yeah. So we have to protect our integrity of the project,
the brand,
at the same time.
Yeah.
So they've gone up to Arnhem Land.
Wow.
So we've sent it up that far to Elcho Island. So we actually flew them there, which is amazing. And they've gone as far as Tonga. So we're talking, and they're certainly in New South Wales and everywhere as well. It's not just Queensland. It's really...
And do you get the feedback? Do you see the kids in the outfits?
Yeah.
They send you photos?
Yeah, they send us photos. We can't always put them on Facebook because of privacy reasons, but we do like to share when they do take the dress. So at least anyone who has donated that has gone, wow, that's really good. You know, somebody's got my dress. And
Oh, what a
lovely
fantastic thing.
Oh,
so then do they hang on to the dresses?
Yeah.
They don't send them back
have
and
the
exchange
choice.
them? Yeah.
They have the choice to send them back, but often it's the only dress that
they can keep it, can
yes,
they? Okay,
that's right.
And I asked you, I'm sorry, Gay. I asked you about the dry cleaning, which would be such a big thing. What happens with that?
So we have volunteers that help with that sort of stuff, which is great. We have seamstress. We have people that do the cleaning. Like our volunteers, I've got, like as I said, Kim Stokes is amazing. She's all behind the scenes. Leanne Jennings, Lisa Carney. They're 2 main volunteers, and we have other volunteers that come in all the time, and they spend hours and hours. And sometimes, the students will try on lots of dresses before they find they have a lot more patience than me. But they're just amazing volunteers, and that's a biggest thing is this doesn't happen without our beautiful community getting behind it.
And do you need more volunteers? Or you could always use more volunteers.
Yeah, that's right. And
so if someone was of a mind where they wanted to volunteer for the, I always get the name wrong. Project School Formal, not School Formal Project. Project School Formal. They'd have a look on Facebook and see.
Yeah.
Just tell me, in the beginning you mentioned that you were working with the Flexi School. How did you just know that those people needed some hair and makeup and stuff like that done? Or?
I think my friend Paula might have done somebody's hair or something like that, and she realised she wasn't going to her formal because she couldn't afford to. And she had her own salon, I had my own salon, and she's like, Gay, she calls me Gazy, we need to do something about this. And I'm like, yes, we do. Let's work out what we can do.
Oh, Gay, you've got such a big heart.
I love it.
I know.
Yeah,
it just makes me feel so good. Yeah.
I've had some beautiful stories come back to me too, like some one's a little bit R-rated. I probably couldn't share on the.
Can you give me a clean version of the R-rated story? Okay. I like a naughty story.
Okay, well, I'm in Rotary, and we were helping out with the boxing thing at Roomers one night with our seating people and whatever. And then afterwards they said, look, everyone, all the volunteers, we're going to the vault to have some drinks afterwards because the vault supports the fights, Rightio, we're going to go to the vault for a drink. It was just in the front bar, which is fine. Anyhow, so there was quite a few of us, and we're Rotarians in there, And I went to go to the toilet, and this girl came up to me in the toilet. She was just wearing a G-string. Okay, and she said, oh my gosh, Gay, I'm like, I didn't recognise her, to be honest, to start with. And she said to me, now I'm trying to think, it's not the Haven, it's the other place that I helped. I know I've got a terrible memory, but anyway, it's for students that have got nowhere to live and they're supported there. And I did her hair and makeup one day. We do little makeovers there just to make them feel, better, and did that to start with. And then it was her formal, and so did the dress and the hair and makeup. I only do that for people that I know really need it. And so I did the hair and makeup. Anyhow, so we're in the toilet at the vault. She started crying, saying, you don't realise how much that meant to me to be able to go to my own formal. I started crying. We're both crying in the toilet at the vault because, just hearing how much that made a difference in her life. I was cuddling her. A friend walked into the toilet and she stands behind me going,
what's going on here? It's the gay hold. That's what it is. It's the gay hold.
I walk out to my friends and they could tell I've been crying. And I was like crying to them, telling them what just happened in the toilet.
But that's the reason you do it.
It was beautiful.
To get that feedback, wonderful.
It's lovely. And more recently, a beautiful girl, Jasmine, and I can say her name because there was That's Life story written about her.
Okay.
And, her parents passed away and her grandfather brought her up and she was in the Haven. And we looked after her with her dress and her hair and makeup. And she recently contacted me over something different. Like she works with disability now and she knows what I do. And she asked, could I do a pledge for busy ability, it's called. And she goes, and she was telling me, do you know that what you did for me made me want to be a better person? And I'm wanting to help others. Now she comes up, she's volunteered already this year up here. So we have students that will pay it forward and help. But to hear her story and hear her say, you made me want to be a better person to help other people, it really
heartening.
Yes.
That's right. I mean, I think that's why we do it, isn't it?
It's
just that not why I do it. You do it. I haven't got any wonderful stories to tell like that, but that's just so lovely. Now I know you've got one other project, Hair Aid.
Yes.
Tell me about Hair Aid.
I love Hair Aid. So Hair Aid is
If you've got any more goodness in you to give, for heaven's sake.
Hair Aid is amazing. So before I met Selena, and there's a story behind that which I think is hilarious as well, but I used to do haircuts for homeless and things like that, but I had no umbrella to go under, so it was really hard. And then I met Selena at a function one night, and she is the founder of Hair Aid. So she's one incredible lady. She is actually a uni professor that deals with entrepreneurship, there's things like that. So she's not a hairdresser, but what she did is she started an overseas project where she went over to Manila, and she I think the poverty and everything just said, I need to do something about this. This is terrible. And so she came back with a team of hairdressers. She got this Hair Aid project started, and she got donated scissors and clippers and things like that. And she got the best of the Benny Tognini, people like that, who went with her, and they did a 5-day course doing 5 different haircuts, set them up with gear, scissors.
This is teaching the people in the Philippines?
Yeah. And sharpening things to start their own little micro businesses. Yeah. Often these women would be prostitutes and things like that to survive. And so this has now gone worldwide, what she does there. And then she realised this needs to happen. Not so much that, but there's her own town, her own country that needs the help with the homeless. Yeah. And so it's just, so my job here as project manager is I get organised hairdressers. So I'm really lucky that I started up a page on Facebook called Toowoomba Hairdressing Network. And I put on there, it's a hair aid event, we're doing it at the base services or we're doing it at the housing hub, and I'll have to have 10 to 12 different hairdressers around Toowoomba that come and help me cut these people's hair, and we will do 60, 70 homeless people every 6 weeks doing it, and it's wonderful. It's such a beautiful project that we can help people in our own town, and the difference, and we hear all the stories about they're about to apply for a job, they need to, that sort of thing. We hear some really funny stories sometimes.
Yes, I'm sure.
But it's something that everyone wants to be a part of. You just need someone just to
know how to give.
Yeah.
And that's another wonderful project. I can't stop. I read a story last night about a mouse plague and how a fellow slept on the beach with his girlfriend and he had dreadlocks and he woke up and he had 3 mice in his head. I can't stop thinking about that, but I'm sure you don't find any mice in anybody's hair at the moment.
We do deal with a lot of people that their hair goes really dreadlocky and knotty, and takes a couple of us, and it takes some time. Sometimes it will take an hour sometimes to get all the knots out of somebody's hair. Yeah. I would say nearly every time there'll be someone that's the case. It's just such a story of what's your skill? I'm a hairdresser. Mm-hmm. How can I give back to the community? I can do people's hair. It's incredible. Gay. I love. I can't. I can't thank you enough for what you do for the community. It's truly incredible. But it's your modesty and your sense of fun and enjoyment. So the 3 little children that you managed to have along the way with all of this, have they reproduced? Are we a grandparent? Yes.
Yeah.
So my oldest daughter, Jazzy's got a beautiful little girl, Indy, that's nearly 14 months old. And I'm very close. I live very close to them, and I see her every night, Nellie.
Right.
So
Mum's here again.
Yeah. It's quite funny. My daughter played a joke on me the other day. I do a Sunday family roast, and she came in, and my little granddaughter walked the other way, and I'm like, "Where's Indy?" And she's like, I thought I'd give her a couple. I left her at Nana's for her. I'm like, why would you do that?
How dare you?
I did all this cooking just for her.
That's
right.
Go
pick her up now.
Yeah. So it is as good as they say it is, is it? Okay. Oh, that's
they say a love for the grandchild is something that you just don't experience.
Right.
It's just over the top, and until you have it, you don't, it's amazing.
So we've got the grandchild for recreation, and we're in Rotary. What else is recreation for Gay?
That's a tricky one.
That's about it. You don't have any more time. No, that's fair enough.
My family is so big. I have so much love for my kids, and I have a daughter studying oral health therapy in Melbourne at the moment, and I was lucky to sneak away just before. It was only a few weeks ago. I think about 2 months ago. Sneak away to Melbourne and then Tassie. I love hiking, so we went to Cradle Mountain and we did a little hike around there, and I just feel so fortunate that I got that precious time with her doing that. So hiking's I love hiking, bushwalking,
gives you that sense of nature.
Yes.
Now I know that you've done lots of makeup and lots of hair for weddings, but I always like to ask my guests one sort of left field question. And what do you think is the one thing you should never say at a wedding?
To the bride or to anyone?
I don't know.
Well, that's interesting.
What would be one thing you wouldn't say at a wedding?
Oh, you've stopped me on that one.
It's probably not.
I would hope to think I'd never say anything
You'd be too discreet, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll ask you this one then. Have you ever stalked anyone on social media?
All the time. All the time.
Definitively, yes.
Yes. But for my own, I will, if someone befriends me or something like that, I don't like to befriend people that I wouldn't stop and talk to on the street or know about them. That's, right. I think, really important. So I will stalk them to go, or maybe if they might be some benefit to one of my projects or they have some interest, I need to stalk them to see if that's the case.
Some people call it stalking, some people call it doing research.
Research.
That's right.
Absolutely. So I do it in a way that, is not in a...
Not weird.
No. Exactly.
Okay, it has just been such a joy to talk to you today and hear about your projects. You make me feel like a laggard or is that the right word? Lazy anyway, and but you're an inspiring person, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you,
Megan.
Thank you. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.